Welcome to the fourth installment of the Dawgs Core 4 Plus 14 interview series. I'm your host, Joe McFarland. Over the last few weeks, we've been celebrating the construction of the brand new Core 4 Plus 14 corner at Seaman Stadium in Okotoks. Not only is it going to provide a brand new vantage point for baseball fans to check out a game in left field, but it'll also be home to the new visitors clubhouse, adding yet another piece to that beautiful complex. We've been chatting with just some of the original members of the Dawgs Youth Program dating back to 1996, and that continues today with the youngest of that team, Matt Ircandia. He eventually earned himself scholarships to Washington State University as well as Niagara University. He was drafted in the 46th round of the 2002 MLB Draft by the San Francisco Giants, and during his days on the field, he also traveled abroad to coach in Italy. Ircandia is now manager of Crude Marketing at Tourmaline Oil Corp. Matt, thanks so much for taking some time to join us.
Thank you. Yeah, good to be here.
Let's take a look back to that original team and maybe give us some of your favorite memories, some of those moments where you went, this is pretty cool, that, is in the initial stages at least.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was pretty young when the Dawgs kind of were getting going and being on kind of that original team, I guess. I was playing up kind of since I was born, and I think it was probably just the nature of how things were. Just with my brother a couple years kind of ahead of me, and so I would have been 13 years old playing with some older guys, and some of those memories for me was really am I gonna be able to suit up and be able to compete with these guys? So that initial for us, it would have been like spring training when we used to go to the Okanagan, and you get to size up the other guy, right? So, do you fit in, or where are you gonna make the lineup, or are you gonna play, or how it's gonna go? And luckily, I was able to fit in and play on the field with some of these guys who obviously were pretty good ball players in their own right. So, I had some great memories. That was definitely one of them, was kind of spring training at the early onset. And then looking back on it, probably one of the first memories that I have was kind of going down to Las Vegas. And it was probably one of our first trips that we went on. And I don't think I was in the starting lineup at the time. It might've been the first game down there. And it was a 16 and under tournament, I believe. And being 13, most of our guys were 15. So, I remember getting kind of called in to go pinch hit. And so I got in there, and, and all of a sudden in the outfield, I see them all walking in, and, so the pitcher probably throwing a bit harder than I was used to. And, luckily I dug in there, and like I did, and, I was able to, extend the outfield a little bit. So, those initial memories, I guess, for me were, of, do I fit in, and can I play up to these levels with these guys? So, luckily I was able to, and, and we had a pretty good time together. So.
What was it like playing with that crew? Not just, your brother, obviously a part of it, but obviously as well, you have the Jim Hendersons, you have all these different names that all went on to post-secondary, and yourself included.
Yeah, like the initial phase, like we all kind of similar experience. Like you're kind of figuring out where you fit in the big scheme of things. Like that was part of the Dawgs experience, was we'd go and play the best competition anywhere. Didn't matter, how big they were, how old they were. We wanted to go search out, the best competition, and, see where we stacked up. And, guys like Jim Henderson and Emerson, or, a bunch of other guys that we had there, found out pretty quickly that we matched up pretty well. And the names that you mentioned were some of the best guys around. So, but it took some finding out that, were we just the best around, Calgary or these parts, or, these parts of Canada, or, did it match up down south of the border as well? And typically it usually fell on our side of the field at the end of the day. So yeah, it was a good experience, and you got to play alongside some real special talents along the way too.
It's quite amazing to see where the Seaman Stadium project has gone from, its initial stages to today. And back then, you guys were kind of the traveling road show almost. Talk a little bit about that aspect of it. And did you really think about it at the time when you're a young teenager taking part in this new program?
Yeah, definitely. When you're in Calgary and we just basically practice on any field available. And so you don't always look as good probably from the onlooker when you're playing in, just some field out in the bluff with basically a backstop, and that was it. So, you're tending with the gopher, who's playing shortstop next to you or whatever it is in the outfield. So, we definitely, the bad hops came our way a lot, and we learned to deal with those. And I think we were tougher for it in the end. We were a pretty gritty bunch. So I think we played over 100 games kind of on the road. And one of the things that we took to heart is when we did play in Calgary or we played against a Calgary team who, is able to have that home diamond, we let them know that who we were. So we usually left it on the field pretty well. But yeah, it's definitely come a long way. Obviously the facilities, the coaching staff, everything that they got going on down there is top notch. So we definitely didn't have that in the beginning, but we definitely had a lot of heart and we had some talent there too. So it was a different experience, but I think you got to maybe the same kind of place at some time. So.
Mm-hmm. As meant, we'll get back to the field stuff in a second. I want to get back to the career a little bit here. And obviously, as mentioned, you were one of those who ended up going to post-secondary and playing some baseball and going even further than that. Talk a little bit about your career and some of the highlights that you had after you left Calgary and Okotoks and started to kind of travel the world, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. So obviously, after leaving kind of the Dawgs program, I went to post-secondary. So I bounced around a bit. I went to Washington State University and redshirted there in my freshman year. And then I ended up going to Niagara University and playing my baseball career out there where, I obviously, in different capacities. So I ended up being a pitcher in the end and left-handed pitcher out of the bullpen and started my senior year. And then I went across the pond and I actually coached a little bit as well. So I went and coached for a team over in Italy called Pesaro in kind of a Series B league is what you'd call it, professional league. So had a wonderful experience over there, and it was kind of a dream of mine, just with my heritage and everything. I always I aspired to go play overseas. If it wasn't professionally here, it was going to be professionally, wherever I could find it. But I had a special place in my heart for, going over there and hopefully learning the language. And that's essentially what I was able to do through some of the coaching staff, actually with the Dawgs themselves that I played for. Dave Robb, who's been a large part of the Dawgs organization for a number of years, kind of got me put the bug in my ear to go over there and see how things were played over there. And I had a wonderful experience, and we're able to coach a bunch of guys, learn another language, and meet a lot of people from around the world. So through that whole experience, it's pretty amazing. And to think, it all started really with the Dawgs. So.
You get drafted as well. You also represent our country in the process as well. You think about it from a hockey standpoint. They always get asked, what's it like to wear the maple leaf on the front? What's it like being able to represent your country as well?
Yeah, definitely. Being able to play, and I got to represent Canada a few different times. I was selected to go down and play with them kind of on their Florida circuit, and got to wear it there. And then represented both Alberta and Canada. We got to play over in Japan actually as well when I was a little younger, and that was a pretty amazing experience. It's kind of surreal really when you get out there. Obviously between the lines, baseball is baseball, but the places you get to go and the people you meet along the way is really what's important, and your teammates. And so yeah, it was a great experience, and for sure.
Did you ever have that moment where I'll call it the pinch yourself moment, but that moment where you're like, yeah, I'm this Canadian kid, this Alberta kid, this Calgary kid. It's kind of unheard of to have those kinds of roots and being able to play ball at a pretty high level. Did you have those moments when you're playing?
Maybe not so much when you're playing, maybe after the fact, but when you're in the lines, for sure. It's kind of goes back to that, like when you're playing up or whatever it is, you want to be whoever the opponent is. It doesn't really matter background or where they came from to some extent. You probably think about it afterwards, but when you're playing inside those lines, if you fit in and you think you're good at what you do, you're gonna push and play to your best ability. And that's kind of what, every time I jumped in between the lines, obviously you want to prove that you can be on that field and compete, is essentially what it ends up being. And that sense of competition comes out, and the language barrier, so to speak, or that kind of go away. You want to compete and beat your opponent. So
I'm curious, after you hung up the cleats and you get into the professional world, were there any lessons that you took away from your time with the Dawgs Youth Program that now stick with you through all those times?
100%. Yeah. Baseball, although it doesn't come across 100% as a team sport, there's such a team dynamic to it. And where I'm working now today, or along the way, that team aspect is probably the biggest thing that you can take into any job that you go into, or at least most of the jobs that I've been working with in the past, is working in a team environment and succeeding by pushing in the same direction and getting the job accomplished through that teamwork. So that's definitely something that instilled in me from playing with the Dawgs and sports in general. So I think that's probably one of the biggest aspects, for sure.
What, from your standpoint, is it like to see how the program has developed to this day?
Yeah, it's come from leaps and bounds, for sure. The field itself, when it first got there, to the coaching staff, to the youth program from the college team, it's definitely gone to more of that professional level where, we were pretty grassroots, playing, in some guy's backyard, essentially, in any field that we could. And they have a very established program, well recognized. They're bringing guys from all over the country and sometimes other countries into the program, in the youth program. And then obviously with the college team as well. So I think, if we are recognized for what we did, they've definitely solidified themselves within Canada and North America as one of the premier places to be. So yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, for sure.
If you had an opportunity to go talk to some of the youth kids now who are going through the program, what kinds of advice would you pass along to them? What kinds of lessons did you learn that you hope they take away from that experience?
I would definitely say, listen to your coaches. No, but yeah, for sure. They have everything at their disposal. So if you need some extra reps, or, if it's even scholastically, they've definitely got people there to help you through those tougher times. And there's going to be those tough times, even playing in the Dawgs, and everybody's very short-minded in the way that they look, especially in sports. How are you hitting today? Those kind of things. There's a bigger picture to it. And I would say most of the people playing in the program, there's lots of opportunity. It doesn't necessarily mean to be that you're going to, make the major leagues, but aspire to that, aspire to what your goals are. But there's lots of different avenues and lots of different successes and benchmarks that you can, look towards to have a successful career, or, college career or high school career. There's a lot of different, there's a lot of opportunity out there for somebody who's willing to work hard, listen and do the work. So that's kind of what I would say.
And of course, we are here to celebrate the new Core 4 Plus 14 corner that's going to be introduced in 2021. What does it mean to you to be recognized along with all those teammates from those original teams, and being able to kind of celebrate where the program has come from?
Yeah, means a great deal. Yeah, I'm obviously getting recognized with some of my old teammates in the program, and to think about how far it's come and to be able to be a part of that is fantastic. I think it means a lot to me, I look forward to getting down there for sure.
Well, we sure will be seeing you around there before too long. Matt, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for sharing some of your memories here with the interview series.
Hey, appreciate it.
That'll do it for this edition of the Dawgs Core 4 Plus 14 interview series. Thanks so much for checking us out. We also have conversations with Emerson Frostad, Vince Ircandia, and Jim Henderson. We'll see you next time here on Dawgs TV.